Okay, okay, okay. I'd like to tell you all that I'm very sad right now. You know why? Okay, I'm not sad. I think this is expected. When Manchester United played Manchester City, and Manchester United lost to Manchester City, and I often don't say these things a lot, but I don't know if a system is working or not working. What do we do? Do you like get rid of the system? Or you stick with your values and you stick with your intent and you stick with what you want to achieve? Because now, the thing I have noticed is my good friend Ruben Amorim is very good with his what's his formation? What's that formation? 4-2-3-1, one something. Inverted wing backs, wide, playing wide, you hold the ball in the midfield. He has refused to change his tactics. I think Manchester United have now played under his reign about what, maybe 35, 36 Premier League games, and they have won 8. 8. He has a win percentage of like 15, maybe 16, 20 something percent. Nah. But Funile Xavi Hernandez, I don't know. And at this point, you see, and Ronnie Mwagizi wa Arsenal kati job akubye Nottingham ate Zubamendi atebye goal eziwera goal bbiri, one was a golazo. We are not 3-0 Arsenal won, 3-0 Manchester United lost. It's going to be a long week. But now you see they don't even banter us anymore. It's that bad. It's that bad. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to yet another episode of the Talk Track. My name is Roy, aka The Alchemist, aka Kamada, and I will be taking you through the episode for today. Joined obviously by Moro, who is in charge of this independent production. So, by the way, yes, the Talk Track is an independent production of the Kara Junkies. It's produced, edited, sound mixed, and shot by Morris, aka Moro, aka the only man who is not afflicted by these sports things. This guy lives a very peaceful life. By the way, if you guys ever want to know the secret to happiness, ask Morris. He'll just tell you, don't support any team. For you, just be there for the vibes. When it's time to watch the soccer, for you, just go pick your club, sit in the back. When everyone is shouting, you shout. When everyone is booing, you boo. You just go with the crowd. Morris lives his life like that. Even athletics, by the way, like Olympics. I don't think Morris invests. Morris, you invest in Olympics, like when the Olympics start. He does. We don't own any of the rights to the music you're going to be hearing playing in the background. Also, the opinions that are going to be presented on the Talk Track are not representative of the entities affiliated with the Talk Track, that is the Bar House or the Kara Junkies. These are opinions presented by people through their lived experiences and should not be taken as fact or concrete advice, psychological advice. However, if you'd like to leave your feedback or give us, your thoughts, you can check us out on our socials, YouTube at TalkTrackUG. Feel free to like, subscribe, leave a comment. You can also check us out at SoundCloud, Barhouse Radio, where you'll get audio episodes of the Talk Track as well as audio episodes of our Retro Fridays, our audio playlist for the Retro Fridays, as well as the Q List Saturdays. It's been a week. Let me start from there. It's been a week. I don't know if you guys have been following, but the story of Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was a conservative, I wouldn't like to say influencer, but he was a big part of the conservative movement in the United States. One of the biggest proponents of the MAGA campaign, Make America Great Again. He was heavily affiliated with Donald Trump, and his views were divisive or what's the word I'm looking for? They were either divisive or they spoke to you in a very sensible manner, depending on what side of the field you played for, whether you were Republican or Democrat. Charlie Kirk presented himself as a very avid Christian, but some of his views, views on African Americans and views on women and views on the people of the LGBTQ community and all that. And yes, everyone is entitled to his opinions, and he was quite outspoken, and he he was a hard guy, so to speak. The things he said, some of the opinions he presented were not exactly well taken by the people around him, and especially the liberals in the United States. So unfortunately for Charlie Kirk, sometime either this week or last week, he was shot at a rally, and there's been mixed reactions to his death. You know, when someone is that divisive, when someone is that famous or infamous, depending on which side of the ball you play, opinions surrounding their demise usually gather a lot of attention. So there was people who actually celebrated his demise, you know, because of the views that he had and the things he said about certain classes of people. And then, you know, there was people who are pushing for humanity and asking people to be a bit more sensitive, especially to his family, considering he left behind a wife and 2 daughters. But yeah, I think that just goes to show us the state of the world right now. It's very, very difficult to find a point of unity. If people are even celebrating in someone's demise, then where are we going as a world, you know? That's crazy. But anyway, rest in peace to Charlie Kirk. Whatever he did or did not believe, we are human beings after all. We leave the judgment to the one and only. Some guy seated up that side, and he will tell us at the end, you know, whether what Charlie Kirk did was right or wrong, and whether he lived his life according to his will. But rest in peace to Charlie Kirk. Moving on to Nepal. Oh, Nepal. Gen Zs did a thing in Nepal. Gen Zs officially took power in Nepal. Okay, so the riots in the demonstrations in Nepal, and I didn't like what the news was doing for majority of the time, because yes, there was a social media ban in Nepal, but there was also, Nepal has been facing one of the highest levels of corruption in recent times, as well as one of the highest global levels of youth unemployment in recent times. I think they're close to maybe 25-30%. But when the Gen Zs took to the streets to voice their disregard of the sitting government, the news out there was presenting it as, oh, Gen Zs are going onto the streets because of a social media ban, trying to make them out to be like these very social media hungry entities. And yet the situation was way bigger. The situation was way deeper than that. Beyond anything else, I think the social media ban was a straw that broke the camel's back. But yes, in Nepal, Gen Zs took to the streets, took down a few government officials, burnt the parliamentary building. At the end of the day, what happened? The Prime Minister of Nepal, I think, resigned, and some other high-ranking officials. So shout out to the Gen Zs for creating some real change. They have an interim Prime Minister right now, I think. They are former Chief Justice or something like that. Yeah, but shout out to Nepal for doing big things, you know. That's an example. I think we as the youth really need to take the power into our own hands if we want to see some change. Now, I'm not encouraging coups, guys. Me, I'm just saying, if you believe it, do it. Guys, we had a weekend. I don't know about you. Mine was long. Mine was hectic. It was serious. But in everything that I did this weekend, the one thing that really stood out for me, someone asked me a question. No, I think someone asked a question that I was privy to. The difference between toxicity and difficulty. Like, are all difficult situations toxic? Or are all toxic situations difficult? Or are they one in the same? I don't think, maybe because of the exposure that we have now, and maybe because we are a bit more in tune with our surroundings and growing up, that comes to you with time. But we have been using the word toxic a lot over recent times. Toxic, this is toxic, workplace is toxic, relationship is toxic, that team is toxic, Manchester United is toxic, this is toxic, that is toxic, it's not good for my health, it's toxic. I think before Britney Spears made the song Toxic, I don't think the word toxic was as popular. Then in 2008, Britney Spears releases Toxic, and it's a big thing, it's a big hit. Shout out to Britney Spears, by the way. It's a good song. You should all listen to it tonight before you sleep. Listen to Toxic by Britney Spears. But before, I don't think... Okay, and also maybe in reference to Chernobyl, the radioactive site in Russia, and also I think some areas of Yellowstone are also quite toxic. And the term was normally used in reference to actual toxicity, and now we've made it a more colloquial term in our day-to-day life. And because of that, I think we have started throwing it around a bit too casually and a bit too loosely, because the number of things that people say are toxic is quite crazy. But okay, what even is like how would you define? Let's even start from that. How would you define toxic? Like, what is toxic? Remember, the whole discussion is are all toxic situations difficult, and are all difficult situations toxic, right? But let's first focus on the toxic aspect of it, because considering that has been a really, really big aspect of everyday life in recent times. What even is toxic? Like, how would you define toxic? That's something that has plumbed me for a while. That is slang, by the way. I'm using slang on the talk track. It has baffled me for a while. So how would you define toxic? Guys, don't shy away from the mic. Oh, by the way, remember, as Josh and Kia are thinking about the answer to that question, remember we are plot 8B Gabula Road, the Barrow House, an official home of the Kara Junkies. As you can see today, we don't have Mama Auntie Ruwe, Mama Barrow with us today. She's not feeling well. Wish her a quick recovery. Hopefully we'll see her next Sunday. Also, a few regulars have not yet made it, but I think they'll be here soon. People like to come in late sometimes. But yeah, shout out to everyone who has always been a part of the talk track, and we shall always appreciate you in your presence and in your absentia, because you're the guys who keep this thing running. And shout out to the Barrow House for giving us the space to do this. But guys, toxic. How do you define that term toxic in your own words? Mike again. Producer. Oh. It's now on. Technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. The mic is on now. These things happen, by the way. You've never seen artists on stage and things just refuse. Yeah, so sorry about that. Toxic. We're talking about toxic. Guys, toxic. In your own words.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Toxic. Something that causes right?
Something that causes harm.
It's harmful.
Really?
Yeah. It's as simple as that.
Something that causes harm.
Yeah.
So
over a long period of time.
Over a long period of time.
Yeah.
What if it causes harm in a short period of time?
Might not be considered toxic.
Really?
I think so.
Why?
Yeah, as you said, toxic. The word toxic, how we started using it, especially in industries. For a substance to be toxic, someone had to be exposed to it for a longer period of time.
Uh-huh.
That's why they started putting warnings on mining sites and everything that toxic substances available.
Toxic waste.
Yeah, because it's just like the radioactive waves or even the X-rays. If you get an X-ray once, it might not be toxic to you, but exposure over a long time affects whoever is exposed to it, so it becomes toxic. So situation, if it causes harm to you and over a long period of time, it's toxic.
Josh, in your own words, toxic.
Toxic, in my own perspective, is something that entails more diverting from the actual motive and gravitating a specific situation, I would say. Yeah. That's how I perceive that.
Okay. I've always tried to think about it in a sense that the very first time I interfaced with the term toxicity was again in regards to one. It was first in regards to medical waste, because as a kid I used to see those a lot in hospitals. Every time I went to hospital I'd see toxic waste, and then obviously in regards to for me it was a lot in regards to radioactivity and things like that. So when growing up, especially now in the day and the age of social media, when that thing toxicity, like for example saying things like toxic masculinity, which I do understand where they come from when they say things like that, I think I would agree with the both of you in terms of one, in terms of it causing harm, but also two, in terms of it being a situation in which you are diverted from or the point or the status quo to move on to other things. But considering we have a brief breakdown of that, we again have used that term toxic a lot, and sometimes I feel like we use the term toxic to refer to a situation that is only difficult. Because you all know the sayings, tough times last tough people. Sorry, tough times don't last tough people, do things like that. And obviously, difficult situations at some point in time, depending on your mindset, often come to an end. Toxic situations over time are going to cause adverse effects to you. So, are we using those terms interchangeably? Like, in your opinion, what is the difference between a situation being difficult and a situation being toxic? You guys are shy with the mic.
Okay, in my own opinion, I think a situation being difficult is it's something that's not persistent. Something that's not persistent. It's a situation being difficult. It can be for a moment, and it is usually fixable without that much involvement of the effort compared to the effort. When something is toxic, it I do believe usually chances are high that there is no turning back. It actually causes more harm than good.
When something is toxic.
The end result is obviously negative. But a difficult situation can always be mended. Yeah. So like one is reversible and one is irreversible. Yeah, in my own perspective.
Kia. What's up? Okay, how would you define a difficult situation that isn't toxic? But let's actually first tackle the question that brought us all here today. Are all difficult situations toxic, or are all toxic situations difficult?
I haven't forgotten what you have said, but are all situations toxic?
Are all difficult situations toxic, or are all toxic situations difficult?
All toxic situations are difficult. That's true. Difficult situations being toxic? No. That doesn't necessarily mean that all difficult situations, as Josh has said, when something is difficult, you just it's just hard to face it and all manage it. But most times, it can be solved. As he used the word reversible, like you can change the situation. For it to be toxic is when you can't do much about it. You can't do much about it. I think, yeah.
For it to be toxic. Okay, let's put a scenario. Over time, especially in the recent day and age, I think maybe in the last 6 to 7, maybe even 10 years, we've been using the term toxic a lot, right? So, what is it about the way we live life right now, especially as a community? What is it about our ways of life? What is it about our surroundings that have brought us to the point where we use those terms a lot interchangeably, but especially when it comes to toxicity? What is it around us that is causing confusion in terms of a situation being toxic and a situation being difficult? Is it our exposure? Do we have access to a lot of information? Is it just our, changing, of course, changing in eras brings sometimes change in attitude, it brings a change in morals. So is it all that, or it's something totally different? And is it something that we can manage as a society?
I think why we're using toxic, this is toxic, I think it's out of excitement. I don't even think maybe we use it right, or we even know what it means.
How is toxic excitement?
No, like just using the word.
Okay.
It's just like when that girl used the word demure.
Demure.
Like everyone was using it even where it wasn't necessary. So I think just saying something is toxic, it became popular like a few years back.
Yeah.
We used not to hear people say, oh, men are toxic, your situation is toxic, you're toxic. Like now,
relationship is
even
toxic.
Even when you just make a bad joke, you're toxic. So I think it's kind of out of excitement, and I think it will phase out.
Really?
Yeah.
It seems to be
That's my opinion.
it seems to be a big part of everyday life these days, like you've mentioned. And when something is that ingrained into society as it is now, especially with the advent of things like social media, we know when we have access to people who actually tell us how to live life, and they're using terms like toxic. When something like that is that ingrained into a society, especially with the access that we have to the people that use terms like that, do you think it's a phase that will pass and pass easily?
It's a phase that is going to pass. We're going to reach a time where we're going to discover another word. But it being popular right now, I think it's also doing us good. We are able to learn about situations and how to handle them. Toxic was popular some time back, but right now, do you know the word that is popular right now, like every influencer is talking about?
What is it?
Black tax. And it came from now learning the toxic behaviors in our societies and actually seeing them. I think that word has really maybe done us more good, that we are learning how to handle certain situations that would be toxic to us in the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But black tax, I think black tax has been a thing for a while. I think there was even a special Trevor Noah special. I've forgotten the title of the special where he talked about black tax in detail. There was a South African series. I don't know if it was on Showmax or called Black Tax. So generally, I think the concept of black tax has been, but I think it's coming more to light now, especially for us as the younger generation coming into an income generating. The income generating aspects of our lives, and I think it's now hitting us. That reality is hitting us the same way it probably hit our parents and grandparents.
Because we discovered the word toxic and looked for the toxic things that are happening around
We look
us.
for the toxic.
Yes.
So are you saying in one way, shape or form we are creating our own toxicity? Because if you're saying we learned the word toxic and are now looking for the toxic situations around us, have we gotten to a point that we might be one, manifesting it ourselves, but also two, coming up or conjuring these situations from like thin air? Because sometimes I've seen that sometimes situations that are called toxic are not even in the slightest bit toxic. So is it excitement? Are we now conjuring? Are we trying to make it, because it's popular, are we trying to now look for toxicity even where it does not exist?
I don't think so. I don't think it's kind of looking for things. I think it's more of enlightenment. Like we are in a generation of knowledge. Things that maybe another generation ignored. We're able to see how we can deal with it and grow out of it. So I think it's more of enlightenment than looking for them. Of course, there are times where we're going to misuse them that cannot miss from a situation. But on the higher scale, it's there's advantage. Me. First of all, let me first digress a little bit, because I've just thought about Manchester United. Like, you guys, that team. No. Do we get a new coach? What do you think, Josh? Do you think it's time for United to get a new coach?
It's high time for sure.
It's high time for sure. Because if we're talking 8 Premier League wins in what, 36, 37 Premier League? Ish. Moro, you know a club called Como? It plays in Italy. Producer, believe me alone. Okay, so Josh, anyway, back to our topic, small. How do we know, or how can we be able to ascertain if we are in a toxic situation versus being in just a difficult one? Like, what are some of the things that we can look out for, in your opinion, in your lived experience, and from the things that you've seen? How are you able to distinguish, this situation is toxic, which means in the long run it's going to be heavily detrimental to me, or this situation is just difficult and I can find a way to maneuver and persevere through it and come out on the other side maybe an even better person?
When we talk about toxicity and difficulty, the variation is actually so much interconnected to the end result. Yeah, for something to qualify to be toxic, the end result must really be bad. and detrimental to your health or any aspect as you might state it. And for a difficult situation, just like I earlier on mentioned, it's always fixable. It's also very much interconnected to the pros and cons. You weigh the weighing of if I'm doing this or if I'm facing this, if I persist and continue the perseverance, will it do more good or will it make it the situation worse instead? Yeah, and when I talk about the end result, we look at let's say for example it's most usually we use it in relationships. Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, so we are looking at this relationship according to the facts that are laid on ground.
Yeah.
We see, is it what's the probable cause that we are likely to encounter after.
What are the red flags? What are the green flags?
Yes. Where usually people say, where is this going?
Yeah.
Where is this going?
What is your plan for us?
Yeah, and if it's actually draining you more than it's adding, maybe there you would say it's toxic. And if it's difficult, maybe that could be a specific kind of situation you're encountering at a specific moment that might be for that specific time, but tomorrow you will have fixed it. Yeah, so I do believe it's very much interconnected to the end result of either of the two for it to qualify to be either toxic or difficult.
So I think we've established one thing is that I don't know if you guys agree with me, but I'm just going to make a very wild assumption here. We've established that I think we've been using those terms interchangeably a lot, right? Toxic situations and difficult situations. Let's punt to them and see if they agree with me, because the next question is going to depend whether or not you agree with me. I don't know if you guys are agreeing, but I think I have gotten to a point where I think I have established that a lot of times, at least from the things that I have seen around me, we do use those terms interchangeably a lot. And, we find ourselves attaching labels to situations that are not what they actually are. And that has, put us in somewhat of a pickle. So, from your own perspective, how has that affected, especially now, like you said, we are now able to identify toxic situations. We are now able to work on toxic situations, but maybe might be maneuvering or conjuring up some of these situations sometimes. How have we as a society shaped our reactions to situations around us based on those two labels, whether the situation is toxic, whether it's difficult? Have we gotten to a point where our reactions to these situations, either a difficult situation or toxic situations, are interchangeable? Are we reacting the way we are normally supposed to react, or have we gone off the rails in that regard? But how has it shaped the way we react to things, especially the understanding of a toxic situation and difficult situation?
I think we have just become very impatient, like we are making wrong diagnosis. To me personally, I think for something to be toxic, it should be a repeated pattern.
Okay.
Like pattern, like this thing has happened over and over and there's evidence. Because sometimes, like Josh, we shall be talking here and then maybe by chance you raise your voice at me. I wouldn't, most times where I'll be so quick to diagnose you as a toxic person. But it could just be maybe you're overwhelmed by something that is going on in the moment.
Yeah.
But it would be toxic now if it's a continued thing that you're doing. For relationships, I think relationships, when it becomes toxic, it becomes manipulative. Like I am toxic because I'm manipulating the person who is receiving the bad side of me to tolerate it. Let's say, what toxic situation can I use? Cheating is where someone will cheat and then they'll come and tell their partner, it's your fault, I cheated because you are not doing this and this and this. she'll forgive him and try to do whatever he's saying she's not doing. Then he will go and cheat again.
First wait.
I'm giving an example.
No. Wait. Why is it in your scenario it's automatically the man cheating? Why can the woman cheat also?
I'm the lady here. Yeah, so like when it's repeated over and over again and you're manipulating the situation for your benefit, you're literally causing harm to these people. It's just like in a workplace, the bosses know they're not paying you well, but they will make a way of repeating it, making you do a lot of work, come yell at you in meetings, and it's done over and over again. It reaches a point where people are scared to go to work, where you are scared to attend meetings or even speak in meetings or even answer back to your boss. That's when it's now a toxic situation. That's where you can say it's a toxic workplace. Not that day where they made bad lunch and then you just say, oh, this place is toxic. I think that's how we have been over misusing it.
Yeah, so what you're saying is it has shaped our reaction in a way that we are making a lot of really, really terrible diagnoses.
Yeah.
So how would you, for instance, how would you react to a toxic situation versus a difficult one?
A difficult one can have positive and negative. So it can stress you out, but it can also make you more resilient.
The erosion of resilience.
It can make you more resilient, make you learn better things. Like, what example can I give? What example can I give that makes you a difficult situation? Let's say like job hunting in Uganda right now. If you don't have patience, you're going to say this country is toxic. Yeah, it is toxic, but where you send an application, it's like it just disappears in air. No one replies to you. You don't even know if it reached where it was supposed to go. That's a difficult situation. Like, it's a difficult thing you're going through, but you're going to overcome it. Yeah. It only becomes toxic. The job search will only become toxic if you allow it to cause you stress. So the attitude you also face with the difficult situation will define whether it will become toxic to you as a person.
Are all toxic situations negative? Because
they're all negative.
Really?
Yes.
They're all negative.
Yeah.
There is no way, shape, or form in which you can take something positive out of a toxic situation.
Then it will just be a difficult situation, not toxic one.
Okay, but how if we were to try and maybe try and look for the positives in terms of toxic situation, how does one even go about that?
That would be a very good attitude to actually handle the toxic things. But
really?
The toxic things will kill you. There's no way someone is beating you every day and you're trying to look for the positives. You're going to die.
Okay.
Eventually.
All right. Now, another thing. Thank you for that, especially because whenever we talk about toxic, a lot of people obviously think about relationships, right?
Yeah.
But it's a lot of other things in life. It's work and stuff. Why is it that we as human beings are way more attuned to staying in toxic situations as opposed to persevering through difficult ones? Because you've noticed a lot of times, let's take the job hunt for instance, right? Someone is going to apply, and of course, for a bit of time, they're not receiving any feedback. Like you said, your CV disappears. You keep checking your outbox, make sure, have I sent these emails? So you've applied for months. Some people even go years of application with no feedback, with no result. And then after a while, that person just goes, you know what? Yeah, I'm done. Like, I've given up. I'm not doing this anymore, right? As opposed to, and again, this is from my personal experience. This is from the things I have seen, from the things I have read, from the people I have interfaced with. Like, going to the gym is difficult. Let's first be honest with that. Workouts are difficult, right? That's a difficult situation, but you persevere through it, and it gets to a point where you start to see results, right? And that difficulty starts to yield some sort of positive outcome. But it gets to a point where at a certain time T, you'll find that people tend to, okay, man, the gym is too much, so I'm not going to do it anymore. But when it comes to toxic situations, for example, let's say a toxic workplace, you still find someone going through, maybe in the hope that something is going to change. We've talked about this a lot, and this has become a very, very big topic of discussion these days. People staying in toxic relationships for years, like abusive relationships or manipulative relationships, and people stay in those for years. So why is it that as human beings we are more attuned to try and stay and make it through toxic situations as opposed to persevering through difficult ones? Producer Gambia, lack of options.
I think as human beings, we always want to see the positive sides of things. I think it depends on the situation. Of course, for jobs, why we stay there, it's the economy is bad. Like people are just looking for survival. As Marissa said, lack of options. Lack of options, like you hope for something better. That's why people are like, I'll keep applying as I work here, because if I stop working here, in the next 2 months, maybe I will not have my means of survival. So lack of options. And also, for why we persevere during difficult situations, the example of difficult situations you've seen, they're like, results are quite positive.
No,
Like, they're rewarding.
yeah, they're rewarding. But I said majority of the time we will persevere through toxic ones and then give up at some point during difficult ones. Like
Toxic ones, I think we just like giving chances, especially in relationships. Like you just, even work, like you be like with that mentality of maybe, like the attitude you face the situations with. Yeah.
Josh, why do we stay longer in toxic situations and somehow find ourselves giving up quicker in difficult ones? And yet, like she has mentioned, the difficult ones are often more rewarding. From your opinion?
I think usually it's because acceptance. It's all connected to acceptance. Usually the faster you analyze and you get to distinguish between the two, the easier you know what to do. For starters, if you analyze the situation and okay, the toxicity is not only about relationships, it can be about the person as well, it can be about personality. So the faster you sit down and try to analyze, you see, okay, this kind of personality, this and this, the cons outweigh the pros. You're like, okay, this qualifies to be now a toxic person, not a difficult person. The difficult person, it may not specifically be a difficult person, but a difficult situation at a specific time. Yeah. Also, the reoccurrence in occasions, like Shadal Yaron said, also qualifies that to be toxicity. So the persistence in you trying to push for persevering and bearing the toxicity, obviously is what causes the issue. Other than the difficult one, people don't give it time. They're like, oh, okay, let me just abandon this. Yet it was what was fixable. Someone could have worked on it and they would fix it. But instead they persist when it comes to the toxicity.
And this is going to, do you think we as human beings get comfortable in toxicity more than we do trying to maneuver difficult situations? Do you think we get comfortable in toxicity? Because I have read a lot of books and listened to a lot of podcasts that sort of, they will paint a picture. And yes, again, this is from people's experiences, but examples, when multiple people give the same example, you tend to realize, or maybe that is a pattern in society right now, right? Where they say a lot of us as human beings like to talk about self-improvement and being better versions of ourselves, but we only like to do that in theory, in the sense that we like to listen to other people who have done it, and we like to watch YouTube channels and listen to podcasts for that, right? But they then say that the fact of the matter is a lot of us as human beings are comfortable in the quote unquote toxic situations that we're in, right? So have we as human beings gotten to a point, or is it right to assume that we can get extremely comfortable in toxic situations? And that fear, once change is quite scary. So you're now comfortable in that situation, it then makes it difficult for you to perceive a reality other than that. So do we as human beings get comfortable in toxic situations?
I think we don't. We don't. And currently, I think things have changed so much. That's why I call it enlightenment. We as human beings, people are fearlessly pursuing happiness. And that's where that change has come. Back then, because of the information that was available, very many people stayed in their toxic situations. But right now, people are not afraid. That's why I would say, okay, the majority of the people. That's why you would see someone file for divorce after 30 years. Because now people have, I don't know, of course it might be bad for us as a society that we have become a very me community, like me, myself, and I. But back then, people did stay in those toxic situations. And that's why right now we are I think there's so many movements to break certain patterns that have been carried from generation to generation. Like even from the 1800s, there are things that have come. But right now, people have noticed them. And I think they're finally, no. We are not carrying this to our children.
Yeah.
Because with toxic situations, they don't end. It's just repeated from generation to generation. That's why I think the information has become very important for us. For us, even just like women, things have changed so much that we no longer look at certain things as the goal in life. People are now looking at things, am I serving God, not man? And they are comfortable living their lives alone than being married, because society deems this as the what? The ultimate success. Because when you achieve so much but you're not married, they're still going to say you're unsuccessful. But now people are living fearlessly. I don't want to get married, I don't want to get married. They talk about it. Your parents might disagree, but I think it has come from us noticing what is toxic, what is harmful to our mental health. Yeah, information.
I think when we talk about being toxic, whether it's a situation or a personality, because it's basically these two, it's very much connect and also difficulty. The difficult situations are not driven by a pushing power, but we must comprehend when we talk about the being toxic, whether it's a situation or a personality, it's driven by deceit, intrigue, and manipulation. So, for that matter, it's actually the reason as to why people find themselves locked up in such situations or such relationships or with such personalities, because they're actually not sure if the decision of departing is the right one, because of the pushing factors I've just mentioned, the deceit, intrigue, and manipulation, unlike the difficult situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, final question. We wrap it up. Is society toxic? Right now, is society toxic, or are things just difficult? Or are we, again, just throwing that word around a lot?
Both are in existence, actually. Mm-hmm. The situations vary. Yeah.
What's the question again?
Is society toxic or difficult, or are we just throwing those terms around? Or is it our perception that has made us so negative?
All the above.
All the above.
Society is really toxic. It has always been toxic. Doesn't matter which society. It has always been toxic. Where, as you said, manipulation. Someone is people are pushing their own needs. Doesn't matter what it causes.
Yeah.
Like I want to build something where I don't care with how many houses are going to be pushed down or how many people are going to be dislocated from that place. You have development has to happen. Like society has always been toxic. Does it help us? Yeah, everything. Two sides of a coin. Yeah.
Really? Okay, yeah, one final one. Toxicity and power. Do you think that the powerful, especially people in positions of power, do you think in running their day-to-day lives and moving on in the things that they do you think that their actions of toxicity are excused just because of their positions of power? And do you think power, to some extent, drives toxicity?
Does power drive toxicity? I don't think so. I think most time the powerful are going to use logic, and we're going to look at it toxic. As the oppressed are going to think with emotions. Like we are so emotional sometimes we handle every situation with emotions than logic. So I think like the politicians, the powerful guys, the rich guys, sometimes they're always using a lot of logic. Like when you look at their plans, they're so good, kind of toxic sometimes. Like they can cause, but in the long run, the advantage is there. But me, because I am oppressed and my oppressed neighbor, we're going to be sad. So we're not going to look at whatever.
So really, it depends on your point of view. It depends on where you are
it depends in where regards, you are standing.
Yeah, in regards to that societal structure. If you're powerful, you're not going to look at it as that. If you're being oppressed, you're going to look at it in a certain way. Josh has something to say.
Just closing up maybe, like I said. I remember there is someone, a famous person, I won't disclose names. He was stating that corruption is only bad if you're not the corrupt one. So when you look at it in your perspective, when you are inside A, when you're inside A, side B is wrong.
Yeah.
And when you're in side B,
sometimes side
A. Obviously, side A will obviously be
like
wrong.
the 9 and the 6.
Yeah.
When someone that side is seeing a 6 and you this side is seeing a 9. I think that applies to all aspects of life, including the subject of toxicity. All right, before we close that, guys, Elon Musk. It was Elon Musk. Elon Musk is no longer the richest man in the world. He was overtaken this week by some old guy called Larry who? I've even forgotten his other name. But guys are making so much money. But the thing that made investing in AI, artificial intelligence, the guy who overtook Musk this week is, I think, runs or invested in Oracle. His company makes Oracle, which I think is in technology and stuff. But I think more than attention, because attention is currently our biggest currency. People who have made the most money in recent years have made it from attention. If you can get communities, society's attention for even just a small bit, you can make a lot of money from them. But I think also technology, there was a point in time, the mid-80s, late 70s, mid-80s through the 90s, that saw the rise of guys like Steve Jobs, Zuckerbergs of this world in the 2000s, the Bill Gates, all the time. There was that during that technological advent, and now we are back at it now because we have new and interesting things coming up, especially with the advent of AI. So guys, man, I think there is money there. I think we should invest in Silicon Valley. I don't know. Or just get pissed and run a pyramid scheme. One of the two. Either way, money has to be made. Colleagues, money shall be made. Anyway, thank you so much for being here with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Kia. Thank you, Morris, for the hard work of recording and your opinions also that are often said behind the camera. Very interesting ones, by the way. Morris has very interesting opinions. One day we're just going to take away that camera from him and have him sit down and talk. Yeah, so today we have had a small, intimate discussion, and hopefully we'll see you all back next Sunday. But until then, have a lovely, lovely week. Let's all go with the Lord. Let's not be toxic. And let's not fail to distinguish between our toxic situations and difficult ones. And if we're in toxic ones, please, guys, run away. If it's difficult, let's persevere, because that's life. I don't think anything comes to us easy in life. Even if we want Even if we want to believe that sometimes great things come from difficulty, producer Gambia. With that being said, thank you so much, George. Thank you so much, Kia. Thank you so much, Maurice. Embrace difficulty, walk away from toxicity. Producer Chogen. Thank you so much and have a good night, ladies and gentlemen. Peace out.